Okay. Happy holidays, everyone, and welcome. Welcome. And this is epic. This is epic. It is the greatest fantasy football league podcast on the planet. And this is episode 20, ladies and gentlemen. This is the end of the road for two of the four remaining in the final four. And I'll tell you right now, you better watch out. You better not cry and you better not pout. And that's directed at Cheech. And I'll tell you why. And Cheech is who I am playing this week. He's starting a Jet in his lineup with Brees Hall, which is a huge mistake. And lucky for me, he sat Matthew Stafford, who had, I think, 78 points or 75 points. I don't know why you sit him, but he did, and it was certainly benefited me. But that matchup is at 50-50, basically. But before we get into it, I want to take you back about a month. I looked at my final four games of the season, and I doubted myself. I doubted my team. I thought I wouldn't even make the playoffs. And here I sit in the final four with a 50-50 shot to get to the championship. It would be my first championship appearance since joining the league 5 or 6 years ago. And I will tell you this, heading into potentially my 9th straight win, which will be a record for this league, if my mind can conceive it, if my heart can believe it, then I can achieve it. The great one, Muhammad Ali. I've used that quote for several weeks now. I haven't lost the game since mid-October, and I don't plan to start now. Enough said about me. I'm excited about my team. I'm excited about the opportunity to be in the championship, and it's looking like, if you look at what happened Thursday with Ryan's team, Ryan plays Andy in the first matchup, and I play Christian, as I mentioned, in the second matchup. Ryan had two players, and boy, oh boy. Puka Nacua had 122 points. JSM had, I think he had 57, but it was late. He had 0, I think, going into the second half. But it is league championship week. The semi-winners go to the championship game. And as it sits right now, as I mentioned, we are leaning towards a first-time champion in the championship, right? So if Andy gets bumped, it's myself, Cheech, and Ryan still with an opportunity to win. All of us have never been in the championship game and certainly have never won a championship in the greatest league ever. So Ryan jumped out, as I mentioned, to an amazing start. He sits at 80%. So just great start for Ryan. Puka had the 122, as I mentioned. JSN in overtime, piling up an easy 57. Ryan sits on the precipice of greatness at 80%, and Andy heading straight towards another failure of a season. And it's typical for the young man. He's been in the championship. He's only won one championship since this league began. I can't even remember when it was. I think he was still a single-digit child, meaning he wasn't even 10 years of age yet when he won a championship. So it's been far too long for Andy. He's gotten there. But he does not produce when he gets there. And then there's the matchup of the commissioner versus who I will call the estrogen man going forward, and I'll get into that towards the end of the episode. This matchup is, as I mentioned, basically at 50-50, but Chechnya made a few huge mistakes. Again, didn't play Stafford, who ended up with 78. I don't like Love. He plays Chicago. That's a tough game. The weather might be impactful. And instead of playing Stafford, which I actually talked to him, I want to say it was Wednesday night, and I gave honest advice and said, play Stafford. How do you not play Stafford? He didn't play Stafford, who ended up with 78 on his bench, which I love. And that is a precursor to his ultimate demise. I feel this week Cheech will go down. But we shall find out. So let's dive into the games, right? Before I dive in, I want to give one last, I'll say, highlight, because I think it's the end of the road for Andy, as I mentioned. But let me give one last highlight with a quick recap of last week and what happened. The crushing beating of Mikey by Andy. And that's what it was. It was a 200-point, as he had predicted in episode 19, almost a 200-point victory for Andy. It was over early. Mikey cowered in the corner, won't respond to texts. Says he went on, he had some show he had to be on. Him and his lady were on some talk show. I'll frankly tell you that we get more views than that talk show gets, but he went on the show anyway, and I think he lost his focus, to be honest with you. He was in playing to get into the semis, loses focus, gets carried around by his nose ring. His lady pulls him around by the nose ring 2 weeks before the end of the season, and he gets humiliated. Not only humiliated in the greatest fantasy football league ever, also humiliated on a show that no one watches wearing a bad sweater. Think about it. Think about your actions, Mikey, and the consequences that they have, because they do indeed or did indeed have consequences. Your team didn't show up. You didn't show up for your team, and that's what happened. Andy humiliated you with a 200-point beating. But again, I think that's the end of the road for Andy. The other great matchup, Chechnya versus the Nipples, or Estrogen Man versus the Nipples. They battled until the end. The Nipples came back. He got it to 60% late, and then Cheech shut him down late night. I forget what player it was in the late game Monday night, but that put Johnny and it buried the Nipples for another season. And Johnny hasn't. I don't think Johnny has won a championship. He gets there. He's a decent owner. Loses a little bit of focus. Nothing like Pat Jr., of course, but loses a little focus. But this year he was focused. He had a good team. And he battled every week, but Cheech just had a better team, and now it's Cheech and myself, and as I mentioned, Ryan versus Andy. So let's start with that game. Let's start with Andy and Ryan. Let's dive into Ryan's team a little bit. Ryan has Lamar and Henry versus the Patriots, and a nice one with Cook playing against Cleveland. So he has some really, really nice matchups. But the other players on his roster, and I'm going to go to that, aren't very impactful. So he has DJ Moore, you don't know what you're going to get out of. Hawkinson, you don't know what you're going to get out of. But Herbert has been hot. Their offense looks good. Aubrey, the kicker, could get him 15 points. If that happens, then guess what, Andy? It's over. It might already be over. And like I said, Andy's at 20%. Ryan's at 80%. So Ryan's projected, I want to say, over 400 right now. I don't think he'll get there. I think Henry only averages 35. I think he'll have a good week. But if Cook, Henry, or Lamar do anything, any one of those three break out, it's over. It's over for Andy. It'll be over early, right? DJ Moore, hit or miss, right? Herbert, I think, will be all right. He's got the Broncos D. Broncos D can get him a bunch of points against Jacksonville if Lawrence starts throwing. And the other thing I would say is Andy has Lawrence. Lawrence had 70-something last week. He had had more than that last week. I don't know if he does it again this week. Anyway, I think Ryan has some holes. But if any of those players I mentioned, Lamar, Henry, or Cook, do anything for Ryan, anything above 55, 60, I think it's over for Andy, and it might be over early. However, that being said, Andy could get back into it. Andy has some good matchups, right? Let's be honest. Bo Nix against Jacksonville will give it the points, but they'll score the points. So Bo Nix can get you something. Etienne's great player. The only issue is they got this rookie quarterback. Who knows what he's going to get at, how he's going to be. Is he going to get the dink and dunks and run it for 15, 20 yards? Or is Etienne just going to be Etienne? So we'll see how that works out. Oh, we do have Ryan. Ryan did join. Is he there? Hey, Ryan, how are you? I was just going through some of the matchups. They might be able to hear you on the podcast, but I can't hear you. And your screen is incredibly it's out of focus. You're too close. The glasses are bad. You're locked up. The screen's locked up, and this is what he's drinking on the set. This is what infuriates me about this league. I seem to be the only one remaining to take this serious and win a championship. And I will win a championship. Ryan's behavior here shows how he's not committed to the league and how he's not taking the Final Four serious. I can't, he's way too close to the camera.
I
That
would
being
just like
said,
to
I'm going to
say that
continue to
the
go through
Puka
this. I know Ryan can
performance.
probably hear me. We can probably hear Ryan, but I'm going to continue to go through this. And if he wants to chime in, I'll give him time to chime in. As I was saying, Andy's in a lot of trouble against you, Ryan. I said if Lamar and Henry do anything, if Cook does anything against Cleveland, which I'm sure he will, Andy's basically dead. That being said, Etienne could go wild. He has a great matchup against Cincy. Um, Listen, he's got a chance. He needs Hampton. I think Hampton is the key to Andy. If Hampton can do what he thought he was going to do for the entire season against Dallas, who's a horrible defense, then Andy has a shot. He needs Hampton. He needs McConkey. He needs. I call him Matt Wilson because Gracie. He needs Mike Wilson to do something versus Atlanta, which who knows if that's going to happen, and Chase against Miami. So Andy's not dead. He's got
He's
some
dead.
great matchups.
He's dead.
But he needs something special just because of Nakua, what he did for you on Thursday night. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Ryan. I could interrupt you. There he goes with the
Unbelievable
pow right in
performance.
Andy's face.
It's
So
a
I don't
pow.
think Andy's dead. I think he's got a chance. But I'll tell you what. A problem could be Lawrence in Denver, as I mentioned. Rashid Rice is out. And Andy is sitting Waddle and McLaurin, which is, he said he doesn't tinker. The kid tinkered. I don't know if I sit Waddle. The rookie might dump it to Waddle. And do you sit McLaurin for McConkey and Matt Wilson, Mike Wilson? I don't know. I don't know if that's the right move for Andy, but we'll see. But I see this being over before it gets close. Ryan has two guys, Lamar and Henry, as I said on Sunday night. We will already know Andy's totals, right? Before Ryan gets into that Sunday night game. But, kid, I think it's Ryan's year. I think he gets to the championship with this team. He punches his ticket for the championship by 7:30 Sunday night. Andy goes into a tailspin. And if they ask me, the final of the Andy Ryan matchup, I have it 383 for Ryan, 341 for Andy. Not even as close as it sounds. I think it's over early, and I think Ryan runs it up. Ryan could go as high as 420, and then it's a beatdown.
Yep.
You lose by 80, it's a beatdown. So I think it's another disappointing year for Andy. He can talk about all he wants, how he got to the Final Four, how he beat Mikey. No one cares. Mikey lost focus 4 weeks ago, as I mentioned, going on a talk show and not focusing on his fantasy football team. That being said, I think, again, Ryan gets to the finals. First time ever he'll be in the finals. And I think we end up with, well, we do. If Ryan knocks Andy out, we end up with a first ever champion this year. So start thinking about what you're going to name the league. I would imagine he's going to throw TJ in there somewhere, but think about your league names. That being said, I want to go to the big matchup because I think Andy and Ryan's is over. I'm telling you the truth, Andy. I'm sorry, it's over. The big matchup, we have yours truly, the commissioner, against Cheech, the estrogen man, right? Cheech, we are at 50-50 right now. It's a tough matchup to predict. I will say, and anytime I get into fantasy football, I love having my players on Monday night knowing how many points I need, right? I have CMC and JT Monday night knowing what I need and having Chechnya watch as he slowly ends his season. And I'll tell you what I think is going to happen, Rye. You could chime in. No one can hear you, but I can't hear you, but you can chime in. I think CMC has a 28-yard run into the end zone in the third quarter to put the dagger in Chi-Chi's heart and end his season. Fine, he may have had a good year personally, but we all know if you don't win this league, when your season ends, it's devastating. It's devastating. I still have the show. I still have a life. I'm successful. Your kids have to go back to that just the day in and day out drudgery of not winning another season. Let's get a little bit into the game, though. Bijan for Cheech has a great matchup against Arizona. So if Bijan stays at 75 points, I'm happy, right? Because he can go 130, 100. Arizona's the worst team on the planet. I'm hoping that Bijan goes up early and they don't even play him half the game. That's my hope, right?
60
But Bijan's going to
early.
have at least one touchdown, maybe two. I'm just trying to avoid him going for 125 points and really putting some pressure on my Monday night. If he doesn't, then big problems for Cheech, right? If Bijan doesn't
Big.
go off, I'll tell you right now, and I've said this all year against Christian, Henderson and Drake May, enough already. I think their run stopped last week against the Patriots. I think it really stops this weekend. And Cheech does not have really good matchups with Brees Hall. He does have good matchups, but he has a Jet in the lineup. As I mentioned at the intro, he has a Jet in the lineup. Ryan is a diehard Jet fan, and that's why Ryan will lose in the championship to the commissioner. But I'm not going to get into my predictions for the championship game. But you cannot play a Jet in the Final Four. You cannot do it. It is a jinx. Brees Hall will have 2 fumbles, get him 16 points, maybe even come out of the game early, right? But he has a great matchup against New Orleans. New Orleans is awful. Nico Collins, who's hit or miss, has a great matchup against Las Vegas. So if those 2 guys do something, then I got to get a little worried, right? Gadsden, who I traded to Mikey week 3, I think, because he had a couple good weeks and then he stinks. Gadsden the second maybe does something. And I think for Cheech to win, he has to, right? Gadsden and Brees Hall and Nico have to do something. Obviously, it's half his team. But, I mean, what are the odds of that? Right? Brees Hall having a good game, Nico Collins having a good game, and Gadsden the second having a good game. I don't see it. I will say
The likelihood of that is
CD
low.
Lamb scares me
Very,
against
very
it.
low.
But the Chargers, I'll tell you what, the Chargers went after the Kansas City receivers last week. They were crying. They were upset that it was a cheap shot, all this other stuff. They beat up Kansas City wide receivers. So hopefully they do the same versus Dallas. But CD scares me, right? Hopefully, I'm not wishing ill will on anybody, but if the guy slips in the shower, bangs his head a little bit, goes back in the protocol, so be it. I'm not wishing it. I'm just saying if it happens, it happens. Now,
they ask him.
What do I need? I need the same as I do every weekend. And what I've had for
CMC.
8 straight weekends since mid-October. CMC to be solid. JT to be solid, a little above their averages, works for me. McBride, my team is stacked. McBride stays hot and gets me 75 would be great. DK's been hot.
Egregious.
Stays hot from Rodgers. And that might be enough for me to win. That might be enough. Because I'll tell you what, Cheech's team does not scare me. I'm trying to collect my thoughts. I'm so angry at Ryan's camera because it's a fuzzy picture. I don't know what is going on in North Carolina, but I don't like it. I do have to pat myself on the back for keeping Mike Evans all year on IR. I wanted to dump him. I can't tell you how many times. I kept him. He had 54 last week on my bench because I didn't need him yet, or I had a bye. It didn't matter. But Mike Evans now is probably he's receiver 1 in Tampa, and he might carry me to the championship because I kept him. I didn't quit on him.
16 points today.
And I haven't lost since mid-October. And believe it or not, right, all the things I went over, how I'm going to win, and I think I am going to win easy. The Chiefs D versus Tennessee. If they get me double digits, I think I can win easy, right? With the lineup I just gave you against Cheech's lineup, throwing a Jet in the lineup, which is a huge mistake. If he listens to the show, he might make modifications. But I'll tell you, I'm going to give my predictions, and Ryan, you can give predictions. I don't know if we can hear you because of your connection, but I think I'm going to win. I'm going to say 374 to 307. And I think, like as I said, I think it ends Monday night with CMC running into the end zone in the third quarter, which I like because then Christian has to watch. He thinks he still has a chance, and then then it's over. Then he goes to bed. He has a couple bagels, then he goes to bed, right? So if you want to give me your prediction for my game versus Cheech, that would be fine. Hopefully we can hear you.
I'm hoping that you guys can hear me. My prediction is Cheech is coming off a huge weekend.
The screen's locking up.
Screen's locking up. Christian's coming off a huge
I got
weekend.
Santa
Shout out
driving
to
down streets.
Dr.
I got the
Manueli.
sirens going. Santa Claus is driving past my street. Oh, as I
Christian
said
beat
several
you.
times, I've won 9 straight. It's another league record. No one has ever won 9 straight. I haven't lost since mid-October, for goodness sake. I don't plan on losing now. If I get to the championship, I don't even know what. I'm not going to work. I'm not going to focus on anything else but my players and my lineups, and I think I'm playing Ryan. And I'll tell you what, Ryan, if I do play you,
Boom.
go to a library where they have some decent Wi-Fi in Carolina and get on the podcast and talk to me man-to-man about the matchup. If we play each other in the championship, which I think we will. So
100%.
I think I punched my ticket to the finals. I think I play Ryan. And I'll be honest,
I'll
Ryan
see
has to
Christian
be
in the
the early
finals.
favorite with that team that he has. Smith Najigma is ridiculously great. And Puka Nacua is ridiculously great. Right? So, and
My
Henry and
team's
Lamar haven't even
unbelievable.
done
Shout out to
anything.
my son for
And
picking it.
I mean, his team is just stacked. So if he goes off like he did the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, I could be in a little bit of trouble. But I don't think that's going to happen. So I think it's going to be Ryan and I in the championship. I'm excited for it. I'm sure Ryan will be excited for it. I know. I feel bad if TJ has to see his daddy lose in the championship for his first
Not going to
championship
happen.
since the kid's
Not going to
birth.
happen.
But that would be awful. But it is
Not
what it is,
happening.
right?
It's not happening.
Before I sign off for this historic 20th episode, and it's one of my shortest episodes I've had, I didn't want guests today. Ryan called in without my approval in his bad Wi-Fi and his bad camera, his bad glasses. He still hasn't gotten a haircut. I told him where to go down there and get a haircut. I had comments from people at work. I was at my Christmas party. They said how much they love my hair. And I barely even take care of it, but it still looks wonderful. And I'm almost 60
Shout
years
out
old.
to the
Getting a
show
little gray up there,
sponsor,
but I feel good.
Uptown
Before I
Hometown
sign off,
Barber.
and I know I have a ton of energy because we're getting into the. I mean, listen, folks, I can't even imagine being in the championship. But again, if my
Because you're
mind
not
can
going to be.
conceive it and my heart can believe it, then I can achieve it. And I believe that. And that is my mantra going forward, not only in the Fantasy Football League, but throughout life. So before I sign off on this historic 20th episode, I wanted to make a few personal comments and a few league announcements and statements. So, Ryan, just be still. Don't say anything and let me get through this. First and foremost, everyone knows, people that know me personally know that I would not be the man I am today. I would not be the successful man I am today on the show and in the league and everything else without my beautiful bride, Lara, who we celebrated her 56th birthday, believe it or not, this week. We had a wonderful dinner. I think she had a nice day. So happy birthday. Love of my life. Greatest woman I've ever met. And I'm so happy to be with you and celebrate birthday with you. And we will both celebrate when we raise the trophy in 2 weeks, a week and a half. Second thing I wanted to bring up, Dr. Gut. Now, I went to this presentation about estrogen in the water, in the aquifers, in the clay, and I listened. I took notes, right? I didn't understand a word he was saying, but I took some notes, and that's all I got out of it was the estrogen and the little tiny plastic pebbles in the clay and in the oceans and all this other stuff. So, Christian, Chechnya, Cheech, Gut, Dr. Gut, congratulations. And I don't think I've ever said this to any Manueli. I was impressed. I'm proud of you. And I thought it was a wonderful, I couldn't have been happier to be there. I love you. Great job. Take a couple months off, go to Europe, go somewhere with your bride to be and celebrate the achievement that you had this last week in getting your PhD in whatever it is you got it in. I have no idea, but wonderful job. Proud of you. Thrilled to have been there. Thank you for letting me be a part of it. Good for you. That's the end of that, Cheech, because now you are my arch
Love you,
enemy
Cheech.
for the next, what do we got? What's today, Saturday? The next 48 hours, Christian, you are my enemy. You're not my nephew. You're not family. You are my enemy. Until I destroy you this week, then we go back to uncle-nephew relationships. Last thing I want to comment on. As your commissioner for this year, we've all talked about the greatness of the league. It is the greatest fantasy football league ever created. But what a year we had.
Ever.
We started our episode, which is now nationwide. We have sponsors everywhere. I didn't want a sponsor for this show because I just wanted to talk
Hometown
about
Barbers, Carolina Beach.
the matchups in the
Shout out
Final
the
Four, and I
haircut.
wanted to talk about my few personal comments I made. I didn't want to sponsor. They're calling me left and right. They're texting me. They're emailing me to sponsor the show. I refuse this episode. It is the greatest league. We do have to do something about Pat Jr. I don't know necessarily if we have to do something about Uncle Gary. Let's see how that plays out. I would advise him to get a co-owner because he's awful. He's absolutely awful. We'll get into that in the offseason in the summer meetings. Pat Jr., I believe, when the league votes, will be mandated to have a co-owner because he didn't set his lineup and cost Matty, maybe the greatest owner in fantasy football, the playoffs. I could be playing Matty this week or in the championship. But I just want to say it has been a tremendous year. If Ryan tries to call in again, I don't think I'm going to let him on the show because of his technology. I love him.
Can't stop me.
But he needs to get better Wi-Fi down there. I don't know if you get better Wi-Fi in Carolina. I don't even know if they have Wi-Fi. You might, like I said, go to the library where they have some decent Wi-Fi, or the Starbucks if you don't have Starbucks down there. But go to some of the coffee shops, get some good Wi-Fi, and call in for the championship because I think it's going to be me and you, Rye. I want to thank all the other owners for trusting me to be commissioner this year. I think we made proper changes. I anticipate being reelected to commissioner unanimously for next season. Everyone have a great holiday. Ryan, good luck this weekend versus Andy. I don't think you need it, but good luck. I don't know if you want to say anything, Ryan, on the way out.
Yeah, Drew. Second man.
And there he goes. And there he goes. Just like that. Just like that. I tell you right now, we cannot bring the show to another level if we're going to have people like that calling in. You'll see how he presents on camera. You'll see what his Wi-Fi was like, what I had to deal with, trying to stay focused and talking about the Final Four. While that kid it's a blurry screen. I can't hear him. I guess the one saving grace, Christian will not call from his stupid lab anymore. But then last week at his apartment, he had the cat walking around. I tell you what. I might have to get rid of some of these people. I might not let him on the show. I might not let him on the show anymore. But we'll see. I want to wish him luck. I don't want to leave on a bad note. I don't want to be all hostile. I want to be positive. And I'm going to leave it at that. Happy holidays. Good luck. For the owners that didn't make the playoffs, not good. 6 of the 10 teams make the playoffs, for goodness sake. Awful. Rethink, retool, be ready for next year. We will have summer meetings to talk about some of the changes to the league. As I mentioned, Pat getting a co-owner probably will be mandated. And we'll talk about UG's condition and whether he stays on. And I'll tell you what, this league ends next week, but it doesn't end. Next year is dynamic year, a dynamic year. We have people getting married. We have a couple people getting married, I think. Or maybe, I don't know, Cheech might be next year. I don't even know. There's so many weddings going on, I don't even know. But next year is setting up to be an epic year. But believe it or not, if Andy loses, he's at 20%, we will have a first-time champion crowned this year. I will tell you, we will have at least one episode next week prior to the championship. And I would imagine we'll have a closing episode after the champion is determined. But I know we'll have at least one show before Sunday is through next week and the champion has been crowned. But maybe several. I do need to get my co-host on here next week to talk about the matchups for the championship game. Who knows better? Who else do you want to hear from than someone who's been in the championship more than any other owner in this league? So I'm going to try to coordinate that. I know he's really busy. He's got a lot going on. He's got several job opportunities. So I'm hoping we can re-sign him for next year as co-host. We'll see what happens. Everyone have a great, blessed holiday. I wish the remaining 3 owners luck. They're going to need it. God bless. I love you, boys.